Today on our channel, we're going to show you how we do a full installation of a battery pack from prep on the bench all the way to full installation into this brand new 2024 Kia EV6. Guess what? Putting a camera right on my head, and we're going to show you exactly how we do it. Now keep in mind there's going to be lots of time lapse throughout this whole video. But there's going to be tons of information. We even slow it down at times to show you little tips and tricks and explain to you what we're doing. If you do have questions at the end of the day, well, at the end of the video, feel free to leave a comment down below. And don't forget, if you need a dash camera professionally installed or want to purchase a dash camera, we're in Greater Vancouver and Greater Toronto, and we come direct to your house and install it on site. Anyways, let's go.
Okay, so we're basically installing an iVolt Extra battery pack to a Thinkware U3000 today. So while we're still in the office, we thought we would do some prep. So a couple different things. This is the harness that actually basically hooks up to the dash camera from the battery pack and also hooks up to the ignition line and gives you the monitoring on the U3000 where it tells you what battery percentage you have left. This is your main power, which you hook up to constant power and ground, and your harness for the actual dash camera. So we're going to show you how we like to prep it. And we don't normally prep it in the office, but we thought, hey, probably be a little bit easier than prepping out in the field. So we're going to plug it right in. And this is what I like to do. So I'm plugging the cables in. You can see that's all nice. And then we know we're going to be mounting it. So this is going to be going direct to the dash camera for power, ground, and ignition so that it knows whether it's in parking mode or not. So we're just going to strip the wires here. We're going to take our harness, the Twash harness, the hardwire cable harness for Thinkware. Basically, we're stripping the wires nicely. So we're going to hook up black to black because this is a Thinkware camera. If you're hooking up a different camera, like a Viofo, it's going to be hooked up a little bit different. Black obviously goes to black because that's ground, and that's seems to be the universal color for ground. But now with Thinkware, because we are using a Thinkware battery pack, red goes to red, and yellow goes to yellow. Now if you're doing a Viofo, red goes to yellow and yellow goes to red. I don't know why they like to do it differently, but you know, it can be a little confusing. So some companies, you know, do butt connectors. We don't. We solder our connections. So we're going to take, in the field we have a different unit, but there, now that we got our soldering iron actually working. We're going to wait for it to heat up. we've soldered the connections. See, nice and tight, strong. So we're going to take our 3M Super 33 electrical tape that we like to use. A lot of people like to use the 99-cent rolls of tape. We like using the Super 33. Works a lot better even in cold weather. And we're just going to go and tape up these connections nicely. Just make sure you're fully covering up the wire. We like to also, when we're dealing with constant power, we usually like to double tape it just in case. So there we go. We got that all soldered, taped up. So now it's, how do we make this look good? So we like taking our Tesa tape. It's a new roll of tape. Gotta get rid of that end. And we want to have these taped together. Just looks a lot cleaner when we run it in the vehicle. Some people will say this is a waste of tape, but this is how we kind of like doing our things. It's what separates us from a lot of the other people who are doing dash camera installations. Just going to stretch this out. It just makes it a lot easier when we're running it under paneling. You know, we're protecting the wire. As you can see, the green wire is exposed and it's small, so this kind of allows us to protect it. And it also looks a lot nicer when you're running it. And if you take up like a panel on a vehicle, a car dealer does, it just looks like you have a lot more care and attention. Hides the color of the wiring. That should be good. We may need to do it longer once we get it into the vehicle, but it's a good amount for having it prepped in the office. So it just makes it a lot easier once you get out in the field, because this takes up a lot of time and you got to do it usually in the back hatch of a customer's vehicle or in the back of your own vehicle. You have to find a nice place to do it. The last thing we're going to do is just tape up this section here with Tesa tape as well, between this and the connectors, so that's actually not exposed at all. So the other thing is here, these two are going to be going to the dash camera. The battery monitoring, right? And the actual power cable. Both of these are going to end up going to the dash camera. So we can actually tape these ones together. That way it looks nice and clean in our prep. We're just taping it up about every like 6 inches or so. We don't need to completely hide the wiring. So now we got this prep done. Nice and clean, should be good for going underneath the carpet of the vehicle. And then this is your constant power and ground. right? Which once it gets into the vehicle, we will be adding a fuse holder to this in line. Typically for the vehicle that we're going to be doing, we don't use fuse taps. We actually use a fuse holder, and we put a fuse holder in line, solder it in line, and then we solder it to a thick gauge power wire that is in the vehicle. So typically on this particular vehicle, they usually have like a 10 gauge thick wire that has really high amperage on it. We've done lots of Kia Hyundai vehicles this way, never had an issue. But this is actually how we do it. We'll see if we can get some video footage of us actually doing the installation later today. At this point in time, this is just mainly kind of showing the prep, right? And like we said here, we have the, as you can see here, this is the prep for running all the way up. We have to run this up behind the A-pillar, behind the airbags, and run it all the way up top by the rear view mirror. So that's all prepped, easily running together. We'll be obviously adding to that harness the rear view camera harness, but we didn't want to open up the Thinkware box at this point in time because we don't want the customer to think we're selling them some kind of a used dash camera or anything like that. So anyways, this is just the idea of how we like to prep the unit. You may do it differently. You may use fuse taps. You may not solder. You might use butt connectors. That's completely up to you on how you do your installation. This is how we do it at Safe Drive Solutions. The other thing that we're going to do, obviously, before we go there, now that it's all nicely prepped, just tie strap them together so it can go nicely back into the box. Basically, we're just going to take our box for 5-volt extra. We're going to disconnect the cables, put our 5-volt extra back in the bag. That way it's easy for us to transport to our installation appointment. And we'll take all the harnessing that we just prepped, put it right back in the box here, along with the tie strap, sorry, the Velcro and fuse taps that actually come in the box. And there we go. Battery pack prepped for an installation that we'll be doing later into a Kia EV6. Here we go. Here's the battery pack mounted. Tuck all the wire in here. Get it in behind here. Take off this 10mm bolt right down there so that this could be lifted up to run the wires down. You can see it's all hidden in behind here. And now to continue hiding it behind, to take the seatbelt bolt off. So there we go, took another panel off. That way we can run the wires through nicely. Here's a little trick on how to take the kick panel off. Take this portion off on a Kia. You take a 7mm and put it in. Oh, it's almost off. There we go. And the 7mm just is tight enough that it squishes these contacts in and allows that to get released. And there you go. We get the kick panel off, fully exposed now. And we can continue tucking our wires in, which I'm hoping I'm thinking this is not going to end up being long enough. Ooh, it might just reach. I don't think so though. I think we'll be extending our Thinkware wire, but it was close. Nice solid ground right there, which we took like a lock washer and a self-tapping screw, and it's solid, as you can see, not moving. And then I grabbed this thicker gauge fuse holder. Right. I know we tested it lit up with our test light, right, as we see here, right, but if you're going to do this properly and you want to verify, what you want to do is use your multimeter. I got a fancy snap-on one too, but I usually use that at home on the bench for a lot of testing and stuff we do on the bench. So see that there? We're going to hook up at 12.57 volts. You can see that's constant power. So not an issue. Nice big thick wire to hook up to there. We don't want to unplug this from the vehicle though, because we're not sure, what it's retaining, if it's going to throw any codes if we unplug it. So typically we're just going to make sure to push the wiring back so that we can strip it. I mean, this is how we do it. I'm not saying you have to do the same thing. Most people are probably going to opt to just go to the fuse box, which then you have to find one of these thick I'm more of a solder guy. It's what we like to do here. Right, and as you can see, we're using Tesa Tape, which is the same stuff they use on the vehicle here at the factory when they're building the Kia vehicle. Right, so we're going to hook it up to here, and then we're going to solder the connection. Notice how we put no fuse in here at all yet at this point in time. It's one of the last things we're going to want to do here is put the fuse in here after we've soldered these connections, taped them up, and cleaned up the wiring. Then we'll put the fuse in right then, okay? But as of right now, we do not want to put the fuse in. So you also want to make sure, you know, as you're working, because I'm trying to obviously film this and show you guys what I'm doing, we also want to make sure that we're cleaning up after ourselves, making sure that we have a nice clean workspace as often as we can. So we're done with the multimeter. This one here is way over the carpet, so the last thing we want is for this thing here to be dripping on the carpet. There you go, you can see soldered all the way through in both connections. Just want to tape up the solder points. So there we go, we got the fuse right here, mounted, ran, tie strapped in place, power and ground. We'll tie strap it down here obviously as well. We want to make sure it's, you know, looking nice. get a fuse in there.
have a safe drive today.
I hope you enjoyed our video showing you how we professionally installed it on a 2024 Kia EV6. There are a few parts that we had to cut out just due to the fact that we were actually on phone calls with customers that were calling us. We also had the customer come in a few times. We wanted to make sure not to have him on video. He was completely fine with us recording, but we just wanted to make sure. So there were a small little bit of scenes like the A-pillar being removed. I couldn't risk having the customer on there. It wasn't fair to them. Anyways, needless to say, if you do have any questions, leave them down below. And like I said, if you need a professional dash cam installed in Greater Vancouver or Toronto, check us out, safedrivesolutions.com. Cheers.